High sugar levels are a problem. There is no doubt about it. When sugar levels are sky high, blood vessels get shredded. This causes complications. Now, when it happens in big blood vessels, you end up with cardiovascular disease. And when it happens in little blood vessels, you end up with the opathies. Eyes, kidneys, and nerves are particularly vulnerable. So, doing what you can to keep your sugar levels in check is absolutely imperative. But is the problem really about high sugar levels? A group of European researchers asked the somewhat unthinkable question. What they found was rather surprising. It turns out high sugar is not actually devastating to the average cell that lines our blood vessels. It's not ideal, but it can be handled. What pushes the high sugar level into a crisis situation for these vascular cells is the presence of something else. Join us for this episode of Better Body Chemistry TV as we explore what makes sugar really dangerous. Better Body Chemistry TV is brought to you by Dr. Sandy, a scientist turned gremlin buster, helping you battle sugar gremlins, heffalumps, and other health horribles through better body chemistry. Remember, small things can make a big difference to your health. The research team got their hands on some human blood vessel cells. The cells came from the aortas of 5 organ donors. Individual cells, these were human aortic smooth muscle cells, were teased out of the aorta and then grown in dishes in the lab. The team observed how these cells handled various stressful situations. They did a pretty thorough job looking at glucose transport, the activity of key enzymes involved in glucose metabolism, the activity levels of NF-kappa beta, otherwise known as the inflammasome, which is an indication of just how upset a cell is, as well as the overall redox status. Then came the fun stuff. The cells were exposed to different situations. Situation 1, high sugar levels. The sugar levels were bumped up from 5 millimolar to 22 millimolar. Situation 2, inflammation. The inflammation was created by bathing the cells in an inflammatory cytokine called interleukin-1 beta. This is typically elevated in someone with metabolic problems. Situation 3, high sugar levels plus inflammation. So, what happened? Well, the high sugar levels by themselves did nothing. Nothing. The cells actually just ignored it. They didn't even bother bringing more of it on board. It floated right past them. The reason, the glucose gate they're using to bring sugar in, the GLUT1 transporter, can only take in so much sugar at any given moment in time. This is not the same glucose gate implicated in glucose intolerance. The GLUT4 gate is the one that's not functioning in the liver and the muscle and fat cells in people who are insulin resistant. In the case of GLUT1, more sugar on the outside makes zero difference. Entry through the gate at low sugar levels is already pretty close to maximum. But this all changed when interleukin 1 beta was added to the mix. Inflammation causes more gates. The interleukin 1 beta sparked a flurry of activity, resulting in the production line for glucose gates seeing an upturn in activity. Now, there is no point in making glucose gates and then not using them. So the newly formed gates are rapidly moved to the cell surface and put into service. It does allow the cells to take up and burn more sugar, which is a good thing because anytime inflammatory signals are circulating, there is probably a problem. Think invasion of the biological kind. It takes resources to whip these little critters into shape. So having access to more sugar is going to be rather helpful. But having access to these resources is not pathological. That said, with more glucose gates bringing sugar in, and extra sugar being available, the cell kicks things up a notch, and this changes the cell's redox status, signaling trouble with a capital T. With the inflammasome out and about, the situation goes from bad to worse. So what? Well, knowing all the biochemistry is important for science types like me, but what does it mean for diabetic types? Well, it reaffirms that the battle for health is not just about sugar levels. Good sugar control is step one. Make no bones about it. You absolutely need to keep your sugar levels as low as possible if you want to avoid the nasty complications of type 2 diabetes. But concentrating all your efforts here is unlikely to be enough. Several big clinical trials have hinted that tightly controlling sugar levels in people with type 2 diabetes doesn't stop the macrovascular complications, that is the heart disease. So, step 2, you need to reduce inflammation by decreasing your exposure to things that cause inflammation and by boosting your defense mechanisms. Now, the list of things that cause inflammation is a long one and seems to vary from one person to the next. If you would like some help figuring out your triggers, sign up for a body audit. You can find the link in the description below. That said, there is one inflammatory factor impacting everyone with metabolic problems. It's too much insulin. You see, insulin has your body's fire chief tied up, and this contributes to inflammation. So you need to rein in insulin. Download our free willpower report for easy to deploy strategies that will help you do this so you create better body chemistry and optimize your health. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to subscribe to our channel so you catch future episodes of Better Body Chemistry TV. The advice is simple to follow and based on real science, not hype. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Remember, small things can make a big difference to your health.